The Estadio Johan Cruyff was treated to a spectacle on Sunday as it played host to Barcelona vs Chelsea in the Women's Champions League semi-final. In this video, we explore how Chelsea were battered by Barcelona, analysing the goals and whether the scoreline was an accurate depiction of the game. We also look at what chance Chelsea have of turning the tie around this Sunday. This is our tactical analysis of Barcelona 4, Chelsea 1. Alright, let's get into it then. Champions League semi-final first legs happened last weekend and we've been reviewing them throughout this midweek. Yesterday we looked at Arsenal 1, Lyon 2. Today we're on to Barcelona 4, Chelsea 1. As a Chelsea fan, Harry, a really disappointing result.
Yeah, a very difficult one, I think, for Chelsea fans to take. It was a game that I think a lot of Chelsea fans had optimism after last season. It felt like that gap had been closing, like with the form they've been on under Sonia von Pastor, this was Chelsea's best opportunity to take the game to Barcelona. And it all that hope, all that optimism just seemed to crumble as the game went on. From the early minute penalty, yes, it was saved, but it was still given away. To end up conceding 4 in the first leg is not good enough.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what opposition you're playing, doesn't matter who you are, you should not concede 4 goals in the first leg and put yourself in a really precarious position. But I think Chelsea, the fans and the players, were very, very disappointed with the performance. Credit to Barcelona because they did exactly what they do best. When they take advantage of you, they hit you hard, and when they play their football, it's very, very hard to get in the game. So credit to them because they were absolutely brilliant. But Chelsea were really, really poor, weren't at the standard, and when you aren't at the standard against a side of the quality of Barcelona, they were going to punish you, and that's exactly what they did.
I'm not sure the performance was as bad as a lot of people think it was. I think the result was really bad. I thought the performance for large parts of the game wasn't awful. I thought in the first half, Chelsea really struggled to play out.
Yeah.
But defensively, it wasn't a bad performance at all. The only goal came from a weird moment. Let's have a look at that goal then. The Eva Payor strike on 35 minutes. I've titled it as Barcelona's messy first goal because that's very much how I view it. The ball comes over the top. It's a ball headed down by Natalie Bjorn, and it's a ball that's contested between Bronze and Paraluelo. And Bronze should get there first, but there's a little nudge from Paraluelo. Now, I think it's a clumsy challenge from Paraluelo. I don't think it's a foul, though.
No.
I think Bronze makes an absolute meal of it. And one of the biggest problems for Chelsea in this game was Lucy Bronze and Kira Walsh, actually. The 2 players that Chelsea signed from Barcelona this season to try and bridge that gap. I thought both of them had really torrid times out there. Weak defending from Bronze, though. The ball spills out, and it's a really messy moment. As shown in this clip, there's a few players on the floor. Bjorn steps in to try and deal with Alexia Putellas. Putellas spins out of that. And now this creates a problem because Putellas has the ball running at the Chelsea defence. Brighton Baltimore can't react in time, and the ball gets fed through. And as shown in the next slide, Eva Payor in to score, and she doesn't miss that opportunity. No. Obviously, it's Eva Payor. It's a really nice chance. And I think a lot of people putting criticism on Millie Bright for this one, but I think all of the criticism has to be on... I mean, I think it's difficult. How can Bright react to that situation any quicker than she does? That's the frustrating thing for me. The criticism for me falls on Bronze. Got to be stronger defensively. If you're going down like that, that's got to be a foul. Or you've got to be getting that ball out somehow. You can't just flop to the floor and let the ball spill out to Barcelona. That's really pathetic defending. And then with regard to Baltimore, my question is, could she be marking Payor in that situation anyway? Because even if she's got touch tight with Payor and Putellas goes out to the right hand side, because Hansen's in a lot of space out there, even if she does that, Baltimore would have time to get across there before Hansen's able to do anything meaningful. And even if Hansen did just cross the ball instantly, all she's going to do is meet the head of Millie Bright.
Yeah.
So I think Baltimore could have been touch tight with Payor there, and that avoids it. I think it's a really difficult one because you can't really expect the ball to come through there. It's a really messy situation. And it was the only time in the half that Chelsea's defence were opened. Well, the rest of the half, Chelsea were really solid defensively.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I think will frustrate Chelsea, is that in that moment, the basics just fell away. And how you can allow the basics, fundamentals of defending to fall away when you're in a semi-final against the best team in the world just confuses me. Lucy Bronze in that situation, your defence aren't set, you haven't got numbers back, the other team are coming forward. You clear your lines, you just get the ball clear up the pitch, even if it's just 10 yards clear. That's all you've got to do in there. I think Bjorn is a little bit inexperienced to try and step in there. Again, we mentioned it for the Arsenal's goal, where actually they step in and it catches them out. I think you just have to be a little bit reserved. I understand why She wants to get involved there. But if you've seen Bronze run in there and end up flopping over and not getting the ball, to then try and run in and help her out, I
She
think
runs
is
in to stop
risky.
Putas just running at goal.
Yeah, but I think if you let her run a little bit, you've then got three of you who, as a back, as Bjorn, Brighton, Baltimore, who could have dealt with that. So I think I understand why she's tried to do it, but in hindsight, it wasn't the right decision. I just think overall, and then again, as you say, Payor running free, the basics there of marking and clearing and tackling just fell away for Chelsea in one moment, and Barcelona were going to punish. It's a really good finish. It's another goal for Payor this season, who hasn't really. Well, she's put up quite a few in the Champions League, but compared to some of her
It's her
teammates,
sixth goal in the Champions League now, so she's only behind Claudia Pina. I think the thing for me with Payor was she didn't do anything in that Wolfsburg game because Barcelona had to attack in wide areas. They used Payor as more of a deception for Wolfsburg because they were so focused on Payor, they didn't really pay any attention to the Barcelona players running around. So they used her more as a hold-up, more of a link player. And more of a distraction in this Chelsea game, though she was more of the focal point, and actually they were able to attack quite successfully centrally and on that left-hand side. I think that was a big problem throughout this game. Second half, because I think the first half had moments, obviously worth noting, the penalty and stuff, but the penalty is one of those where, by the letter of the law, that is a clear penalty. Not really much to discuss there. I felt it was a frustrating one to give away. Bjorn shouldn't have her arm up there, but ultimately, did it impact the ball? No, but I understand completely why it's a penalty. The ball struck her arm. Saved well by Hampton, though. A really poor penalty from Putas as well. That's the only thing worth mentioning on that. Other than that, in the first half, Chelsea had fleeting moments. I think towards the end of the first half, Chelsea started to attack with a bit more consistency. And then that did bleed into the second half. We saw a much more confident Chelsea team in the second half. But a frustrating moment, and Claudia Pina made it 2-0 on 70 minutes. It's down the right-hand side. It's Ona Battier running at Sondi Baltimore. It felt like two players out of position.
Yeah.
Battier too high, and Baltimore too deep in the side. Baltimore's done a brilliant job at left-back this season, but I think this demonstrated perhaps why Charles would have been better in this game. But ultimately, we saw why Baltimore was used as she scored, as we'll get onto in a minute. But she goes to make the tackle on Battier. She doesn't come away with the ball. Battier keeps going. The ball comes across the box, and it's incredibly weak defending from Bjorn and Bronze. Incredibly weak. Bjorn's got to get in front of that ball that comes into the box. And Bronze, the basics of defending is that you are the goal side of your player. Why she's behind Claudia Pina, I don't know. And again, I think rightfully you can put blame on Baltimore for this goal. But every goal, there's a Bronze error in there.
Yeah.
Because it is so frustrating.
Yeah, and it's one of those where they're not even slight errors. Again, it's the basics. The first one was just the basic of clearing a football. This one is the basics and the fundamental of man marking and marking your players. And it was a really frustrating one. I think you have to give credit to Pina because she came on and absolutely changed this game. And there's a reason she's the top goal scorer. The fact she's coming off the bench is crazy to me because I think she had such a brilliant season that she deserves to be part of that front three. But she was superb, came into the middle and we saw Payor go out wide for Hansen. But she's the top goal scorer in the Champions League for a reason. She's made the difference to Barcelona in these kind of games. And that's exactly what she did. She came on, caused problems for a Chelsea side who weren't defending, but for Chelsea players like Bronze who weren't defending brilliantly, were making mistakes. And she took full advantage of that and credit to her, two good goals for her. But yeah, that goal there, it has to be better. It just had to be better from Chelsea. You can't get away with that kind of stuff. We said the same with a couple of Arsenal moments. We said that they couldn't get away with that kind of stuff against Lyon. Same for Chelsea. They can't get away with these kind of errors against Barcelona because they are the best side in the world. They are going to punish you. And so you can't afford to slip up. And that's what Chelsea did for those first two goals.
Just a consolation goal, though, coming through Sunday Baltimore and showing exactly why they use her in that role. It's like having an extra left winger. But I think the bigger praise, as everyone's rightfully praising Baltimore, it's a really nice strike. The bigger praise for me goes to Kat Macario because it's her persistence in there. It's her ability to hold on to the ball. And I think it's what Chelsea really missed from their attacking midfield. Vika Captain did a good job at putting pressure on Gallardo and putting pressure on Bonmati when they were a little bit deeper. But overall, I think she rushed it too much, and often players would just bypass her with a simple move.
Yeah.
So I think it could have been better in there. But Macario came on and added more of an attacking emphasis. And I thought it was a really nice drive to take it past a few players. Fought really well against the Barcelona players and then plays that ball out to Baltimore. Really nice strike. in that moment, Chelsea were back in the game, and I think it should have held on to 2-1. I don't think this was a 4-1 game.
No, and this is
At all.
this is my biggest problem with it, is that when you've had a tough match where you've been under the cosh for quite a long time, within 70 minutes that was.
74 minutes.
So with 15 minutes to go, you've pulled it back to 2-1. For me, you take that. You're away from home against one of the best sides in the world, and if you go to Stamford Bridge only a goal down, I don't think anyone's really complaining, especially if you were 2-0 down. And at this point, Chelsea should have conserved, should have saved their energy, and should have just played a little bit more safe, because, again, it's game management. And this is where I think that we saw Bombastor not make the adjustment between Lyon and Chelsea, because I think rightfully her Lyon side would have gone for the game right there because of over the last couple of years, the quality they have and all that. But with this Chelsea side, I think there needs to be an understanding about that game management, and just, right, we've got ourselves back in the game. Let's not push any further, because Chelsea tried to take momentum from that first goal and try and level it up. And that was very risky, because I think they got a little bit too confident, and because they were putting all the effort into going forward, you saw quite a few players who just weren't tracking back, and that massively cost Chelsea in the end. I think that was a wrong decision across the board from players, from coaches, that no one said, right, 15 minutes, let's conserve, and let's take this narrow margin back to Stamford Bridge with us.
Yeah, it was really poor game management across the board. I thought the biggest frustration for me came in the 80th minute. Natalie Bjorn goes down with an injury, and the physio team took her off the pitch, knowing she wasn't going to continue. That is an utterly bizarre decision for me. You hold her on that pitch for as long as you can, and while you get Germa ready.
Yeah, because even if the referee tells you to get off, you start the dark arts, to be honest. You get her up, she walks off, she sits back down again a couple paces because she can't walk off or whatever. Again, you have to be smart about it. You have to judge.
The ref can't book physios. So, unless they mouth off at them. Don't mouth off at them. Just slow it down. That was really naive. And then Chelsea ended up having to play with 10 players for 2 minutes. Which was really stupid. And then, for no good reason, Bright concedes a corner. The ball drops back to her, right on the touchline. It would have gone out for a Chelsea goal kick, because it came off a Barcelona player, or she could have kicked it the other way. Instead, she kicks it behind her and out for a corner. I just don't understand it. And then, obviously, Germa comes on to defend the corner. She does her job fine. Don't know what Lucy Bronze is doing again. And we should have had a warning sign, because it happened in the first half where Bronze left Paredes unmarked. That was what led to the penalty. It was her header down that hit Bjorn's arm. But that should have been the warning sign. Instead, Bronze is marking Paredes again. The ball goes to the back post. Paredes has the freedom of the penalty area to head it home, and obviously she does at close range. But Lucy Bronze, once again, caught out, and it's really poor defending. And then we look at the fourth goal, Claudia Pina's goal, where I've got graphics again because I want to show what on earth Kira Walsh and Lucy Bronze are doing here. So Pina's got the ball on this left-hand side, and Bronze, in this whole move, creates a distance between her and Pina. And that's fine initially, but she never makes a move to go and press that ball. Instead, Kira Walsh comes sprinting out of position to go and close that down. Now, Claudia Pina's a brilliant player, so what she does is just flicks it between the two of them. And she's taken 2 players out of the game in that move. And then she runs into the space vacated by Kira Walsh, who's just come charging out for no reason. I think Germa should be stronger against Putas, but it's really difficult in the penalty area. And I don't want to put too much pressure and too much blame on Germa, because realistically she shouldn't have had to come on in that situation. So that's really hard on her, because she's not played much football in the last 6 months. And she's played 45 minutes for Chelsea until this game. So yes, relatively weak defending there, but it should never have got to that point. She flicks back to Pina, who's now in acres of space because Walsh is out of position. And then Pina just smashes it home from close range.
Yeah.
But it was really weak defending from Bronze and Walsh. And we questioned at times this season, why buy players that Barcelona don't want? Because you can't beat Barcelona by buying their rejects. And so that for me was, and this was a clear example of why Barcelona don't want them anymore. Because Bronze was at fault for every single goal. She had a part to play and was at fault for every single goal. And I think, yes, Baltimore could have done better on the second one. Yes, Bright could have done better on a few of them. As potentially the first one. I think Germa could have done better, Bjorn could have done better. But predominantly, the fault on this game lies on Bjorn and on Bronze and Walsh. And that is a really frustrating point, because I think if you put Sjoka in this game, not only are you a little more defensively solid, but you've got someone who can play further forward. So you're driving that ball higher up the pitch. I think that Nuskin cuff at pivot works. And we could have signed a right back that isn't Karen Walsh in the summer, I guess.
Yeah.
That's not Lucy Bronze, sorry. But yeah, it was way too easy. They allow Claudia Pina to have the freedom of the penalty area, and they make it way too easy for us. So it was a frustrating one. I think defensively Chelsea did well, but Walsh and Bronze on that right-hand side made it too easy for Barcelona. I think in attacking areas, they failed to have an impact. Ramirez was trying to hold up the ball. I mean, there was a blatant foul in there from Mape Leon, not penalised. I think the referee didn't have a brilliant game, but you can't blame the result on that. It's just an aside that was an additional frustration as a Chelsea fan. But you know you're going to get that with the referee when you're playing Barcelona. We saw it in the Champions League semi-final last year at the Bridge, where Elena Demetrescu was absolutely shocking. We saw it again in this game, where no huge game-breaking decisions, but a lot of silly ones that she just didn't give for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think I liked how Bronze put it in terms of everything fell into the rhythm of Barcelona, but that's what they do. They get into their own rhythm on the ball, they then get into their rhythm, and everything just sets into them nicely. But yeah, Chelsea just weren't effective enough in this match. And again, we speak about game management at 2-1. At 3-1, when you concede from a corner, it's the same basics. You have to praise Barcelona as well. I think Putellas, it is a lovely back heel back into Pina for the fourth goal. It's a brilliant assist, but that's what happens when
Putellas did brilliant creatively, and to pick herself up after such a poor penalty miss, I thought was really good. Bon Mati's role was very different in this game to what we're used to seeing. Bon Mati is usually a very creative presence, likes to lurk around the penalty area, but instead today she was a little bit deeper, and she'd often form a double pivot with Gallardo. I thought we saw her it was a bit more of a controlled performance from Bon Mati. Rather than being someone who was the epicenter of everything, she was more of a someone who was dictating the tempo, keeping the control for Barcelona. And I thought that was really interesting to see her in a different role to what we're used to seeing her. And potentially that limited her creativity, but they didn't really need that because they had players that provided that. I thought Claudia Pina looked much better than Paraluelo when she came on. I thought that added a whole new dimension to Barcelona's attack. I thought in the first half there were chances for Paraluelo running at Bronze that she didn't really do anything with. You bring Pina into that role and Bronze was torn apart. So I think if in the second leg Paraluelo starts over Pina, that's a mistake. Because I think Pina's a much better player. We've seen that so much over this season. She's the top scorer in the Champions League. She should be starting at this stage. I thought Baltimore did relatively all right with Caroline Graham-Hansen, considering how good she is. I think she kept her relatively quiet, so really good performance from her in a role that she's not 100% comfortable with.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think it was the worst performance from Chelsea, but the result makes Sunday a really difficult game now.
Yeah, it's exactly what happens when what Barcelona do, and Chelsea were silly to let it happen, is that they in those first legs absolutely tear you apart. We said the same thing about the Wolfsburg game. Wolfsburg should have never got hammered in that first leg. In that first half, before the own goal, they did want to hold it at 0-0. But Barcelona do what they do. They completely tear you apart in the first leg and remove any hope when realistically they shouldn't have torn you apart. I think it's the same thing here. I don't think it was a 4-1 game, but that's what Barcelona do best, is they take away any hope. They keep going. They weren't happy at only 2-1 up. They weren't happy at 3-1 up, and they get that fourth. And that's massive, because and that's why I was frustrated at the game management at 3-1 as well, because 3-1 is a much different scoreline, because suddenly Chelsea only need to win 2-0. Winning 3-0 without a response is a very, very difficult thing to do. But credit to Barcelona, because again, it's that experience, it's that quality shining through, that they did not stop from 1 to 90, and that's the reason they won this game by 4-1 rather than only winning it by 2-1, 3-1, because it was 2-1, 3-1, there's still a game on there. But at 4-1, in order for Chelsea to win in normal time, they're going to have to win by 4 goals, and that's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's one of those where Barcelona put themselves in a position where, bar some miracle where Chelsea turn it around in extra time or penalties, it's that they're in a very, very comfortable position. They can afford to lose 2-0 and it won't affect anything, and that is a very nice position to be in a Champions League semi-final.
No, it's a very tough ask for Chelsea. I think having Wrighton back, she should be able to start again in this Barcelona game. We saw her play Crystal Palace yesterday. I think hopefully Hermano being back could be a huge one as well. And then Beaver Jones to the right wing, because I thought Carney Reid really struggled. But equally, Carney Reid can have her moments, so that's a tough call. Yeah. But I do think there is still a chance for Chelsea on Sunday. I don't think it's impossible they get the 3 goals. I think it's a very tough ask. Of course, Barcelona, best team in the world. Everyone's well aware of their quality. But I think if you don't believe that Chelsea can get a result here, if you're a Chelsea fan, what is the point?
Yeah.
Got to believe in the Blues. Got to back them.
The problem is, I think Chelsea put themselves in a very difficult position because we spoke about Arsenal potentially being too safe in their home leg. I think Chelsea were too brave in this away leg, which now means that they put themselves in a really difficult position because they've got to turn up at Stamford Bridge. They've got to be bold. They've got to be brave. But that could cost you a little bit.
Yeah. They know they can't afford to concede.
Yeah, that's the problem.
They concede, their ties down.
Yeah, exactly, because they're not going to win not going to score 4 or more goals against Barcelona. It's just not going to happen.
No one has in
ever
700 years.
But yeah, I just think that I don't think tactically Chelsea got it wrong. I think in terms of that mentality, Chelsea got it wrong. It was too bold. It should have been a little bit safer. And then at 2-1, and especially at 2-1, but then even at 3-1, the game management, the mindset was all wrong. And I understand that Chelsea want to be positive. Bombast also take the game to the best sides of the world, but I think Chelsea had to be a little bit more relaxed here, a little bit more conservative, and they would have got a better. I'm not saying they'd have won the game at all, but I think they'd have got a better result and a more competitive tie. But 4-1, it's all in Barcelona's hands now.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't disagree there. I think it's going to be really tough for Chelsea, but nevertheless, I believe that they could pull it off. Exactly. Got to believe that Chelsea could get a result this Sunday. Other than that, though, I think that rounds up our analysis. Do get involved in the comments below and tell us your thoughts. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people with a lot of different opinions. If it's anything like the comments on the stream for the other day, there'll be some very jubilant Barcelona fans and some rather dejected Chelsea fans. But do get involved in the comments below. We'll be back this weekend. Tomorrow we'll have our preview for the Champions League semi-final second leg. So we'll be discussing obviously both games, so look out for that. And then on Sunday, we're not providing coverage of Chelsea-Barcelona because I'll be at the game and Harry is occupied. But Harry will be here for Arsenal-Lyon. So if you're looking for Champions League coverage on Sunday, make sure to join us here. Harry will be live from Huddersfield. Lovely stuff. Other than that, though, that is everything. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.